In an unexpected revelation, Princess Charlotte shocks the world with a secret gender transition announcement, leaving her parents, Kate and William, in tears. What does this mean for the future of the royal family? In a world where royal traditions have remained largely unchanged for centuries, Princess Charlotte's announcement is sending shockwaves through Buckingham Palace. In a leaked personal statement, Charlotte reveals that she now identifies as non-binary and will go by the name Charles Windsor. Along with this transformation, she demands new pronouns and a redefined place in the royal line of succession. This is more than just a personal journey, it's a moment that will reshape the monarchy forever. What will this mean for her position in the family? And how will Kate and William respond to such a monumental change? In today's video, we uncover the emotional story behind Charlotte's decision and the royal family's response to this game-changing revelation. Stay tuned for the dramatic fallout and what's next for the Windsors. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. A royal transformation, Charlotte's unexpected revelation. It was the announcement that no one could have predicted, the one moment in the modern royal family's history that changed everything. Princess Charlotte, the beloved daughter of Prince William and Kate Middleton, has always been in the public eye. As the second child in line to the throne, she has lived her life under the spotlight, her every move scrutinized by the world. But no one could have anticipated the shocking and deeply personal revelation that she would make, a revelation that would not only change her own life, but also shake the very foundation of the British monarchy. In a leaked personal statement, Charlotte announced that she identifies as non-binary. With a grace that belied her years, she shared that she would now go by the name Charles Windsor, embracing her true identity and requesting that her new pronouns be respected. This was not a decision taken lightly, and it sent shockwaves through the royal family, the media, and the public. For the first time, a member of the royal family had come forward with such a bold, transformative statement, one that would forever alter the public's perception of what it means to be a royal. For Kate Middleton and Prince William, the revelation was both unexpected and deeply emotional. As parents, they had always known their children would be under intense scrutiny, but this was a level of attention they never could have anticipated. In private moments, both Kate and William have expressed their support for Charlotte, standing by her decision and championing her right to live as her authentic self. Yet, the weight of this announcement, the fear of how the world would respond, and the inevitable questions about the future of the monarchy left them struggling to come to terms with the ramifications. The royal family, known for its adherence to tradition and protocol, now finds itself at a crossroads. Princess Charlotte's decision to embrace her non-binary identity challenges centuries of royal precedent, forcing the monarchy to confront questions it has long avoided. What happens when a royal breaks tradition? How does the royal family navigate a modern world that demands inclusivity, representation, and acceptance of diverse identities? And perhaps most importantly, what does this mean for the future of the British monarchy? As we dive into this story, we will explore the emotional journey of Princess Charlotte, her parents, and the royal family. We will unpack the complex dynamics at play, the reaction of the public, and the profound shifts this revelation will bring to the monarchy. This is a story of change, of personal growth, and of a family adapting to a new reality. It is a story that will shape the monarchy for generations to come. The beginning of a new era. When Princess Charlotte was born, the world was captivated by her arrival. The second child of Prince William and Kate Middleton, Charlotte was always seen as a future leader, someone who would play a significant role in the British monarchy. From her early days, she was viewed as the embodiment of a new generation of royals, a young, charismatic figure who would carry the monarchy into the future. And yet, no one could have predicted the journey she would embark on, a journey that would challenge not only her identity but also the very foundation of royal tradition. As a child, Charlotte was known for her playful nature, her infectious smile, and her endearing moments in the spotlight. The world watched as she grew, as she became a beloved member of the royal family, always present at important events and celebrated for her charm. But behind the public persona, Charlotte was quietly grappling with her own identity. It wasn't until recently that she found the courage to embrace who she truly is, to step forward as a non-binary individual, defying the gendered expectations of the royal family. Charlotte's journey towards self-discovery has been a deeply personal one, and it's one that she has navigated with the support of her family. Her decision to come out as non-binary, to choose a new name and pronouns, was not taken lightly. It was a brave, bold statement of who she is and how she wants to be seen in the world. And while this decision has undoubtedly been met with shock and disbelief, it also represents a turning point. Not just for Charlotte, but for the royal family as a whole. The monarchy, as an institution, has long been rooted in tradition. Its customs and protocols are steeped in history, and its very existence has been defined by a rigid sense of order. The idea of a royal family member stepping outside the confines of traditional gender roles would have seemed unthinkable just a few decades ago. But Charlotte's decision to do so signals a dramatic shift in how the royal family views gender, identity, and the future of the monarchy itself. The family's reaction, a mixed bag of emotions. For Kate and William, this news was both a source of pride and concern. As parents, they have always encouraged their children to be themselves, to embrace their uniqueness, and to live authentically. Charlotte's decision to publicly identify as non-binary was a reflection of her inner strength and her determination to live as her true self. And yet, despite their unconditional love and support for Charlotte, the weight of the royal expectations looms large. Kate and William, both deeply protective of their children, were understandably emotional as they processed the news. The couple had always been careful to shield their children from the intense scrutiny of the public eye. But now, with Charlotte's revelation, they faced the very real prospect of the monarchy being scrutinized in ways it never had been before. How would the world react to a royal family member embracing a non-binary identity? Would this challenge the public's perception of the royal family? And how would it affect the line of succession? Despite these concerns, Kate and William have remained steadfast in their support of Charlotte. They have publicly expressed their pride in her bravery and her courage in the face of public scrutiny. In interviews, William has spoken about the importance of inclusivity and acceptance, emphasizing that Charlotte's decision was a reflection of her character and not just a personal choice, but a family decision. Both Kate and William have gone out of their way to ensure that Charlotte feels loved and supported as she navigates this transformative period in her life. But as the news of Charlotte's transition leaked to the public, the royal family faced questions they weren't prepared to answer. How would the monarchy address the issue of gender identity? How would Charlotte's transition affect her place in the line of succession? The public, for the first time, was forced to grapple with the idea of a non-binary royal, and the monarchy itself had to come to terms with the implications. The press and public reaction, shock and support. When news of Charlotte's decision broke, the world reacted with a mixture of shock, support, and curiosity. The royal family, often seen as the epitome of tradition and stoicism, had suddenly found itself in the midst of a deeply personal and highly public conversation about gender identity. The press, always eager for a royal story, quickly turned its attention to Charlotte's transition, with reporters eager to uncover every detail about the royal family's reaction. The initial response from the media was one of surprise. For many, the idea of a royal family member coming out as non-binary was a concept that seemed difficult to fathom. The monarchy has always been associated with tradition, and the idea of a non-binary royal was a dramatic departure from the expectations placed on members of the royal family. Many questioned how this decision would affect Charlotte's place in the royal line of succession and whether it would change the way the public viewed the monarchy. Yet, despite the initial shock, the public's reaction was overwhelmingly positive. Many applauded Charlotte's bravery and her decision to live authentically. Support came not only from LGBTQ+ advocates but from everyday people who saw Charlotte's decision as a courageous step toward greater inclusivity and acceptance in the royal family. Her announcement sparked conversations about gender identity and the need for greater understanding and respect for non-binary individuals, particularly in institutions that have traditionally been slow to adapt. As the media frenzy continued, the royal family found themselves in the spotlight like never before. The press, once focused on the traditional aspects of royal life, royal duties, ceremonial events, and family milestones, now had to contend with questions about gender identity, inclusivity, and the future of the monarchy. What had once been a symbol of British continuity and tradition was now being forced to adapt to the changing social landscape. The monarchy's future, gender, and tradition. Charlotte's decision to embrace a non-binary identity has significant implications for the monarchy's future. For generations, the British royal family has adhered to strict gender roles, a king and a queen consort, male heirs who follow the line of succession. But now, with Charlotte's transition, the monarchy must confront the reality that gender is not as simple as it once seemed. The question of succession, too, must be addressed. As Charlotte changes her name to Charles Windsor and demands new pronouns, the monarchy faces the dilemma of how to handle her place in the royal line of succession. The current rules dictate that the monarch must be male or female, with clear gendered expectations for the heirs to the throne. But Charlotte's transformation challenges this traditional structure, forcing the monarchy to rethink how it operates. This issue will require careful consideration from both the royal family and the British government. The monarchy's place in the modern world is increasingly under scrutiny, and this development will force the royal family to confront questions about gender fluidity, identity, and tradition. For William and Kate, as well as for the rest of the royal family, these are complex questions that will require thought, compassion, and flexibility. The family's reaction, a mixed bag of emotions. Support, shock, and uncertainty, the royal family's response. When Princess Charlotte made her groundbreaking announcement, it wasn't just the media and the public who were shocked. The royal family, too, was left reeling. For an institution built on centuries of tradition, the revelation that a royal family member would identify as non-binary was a moment of profound change. But how did each member of the royal family react to this deeply personal and public decision? In the days and weeks following Charlotte's announcement, the royal family's response was mixed. Some family members expressed immediate support, while others struggled to fully comprehend the implications of such a transformative shift in the royal dynamic. The monarchy has long been seen as a symbol of stability, tradition, and continuity, but Charlotte's decision to publicly embrace her true identity challenged the very core of that identity. What does it mean for the future of the royal family when one of its youngest members chooses to step outside of traditional gender expectations? As with any major shift within the royal family, the response was influenced by personal beliefs, public perception, and an understanding of what the monarchy represents. While the royal family has increasingly become more involved in social issues, from mental health advocacy to environmental concerns, gender identity remains a topic that many royal figures have not fully addressed. For Charlotte, this announcement represented a break from royal tradition, one that would undoubtedly shape the monarchy's future. This section explores the nuanced responses from various members of the royal family, from the immediate support of some family members to the more cautious reactions of others. It also delves into the public pressure that each family member faced in the wake of Charlotte's announcement, as well as how the monarchy as a whole has worked to navigate this unprecedented moment. Kate Middleton's deep emotional struggle. As the mother of Princess Charlotte, Kate Middleton's response was both deeply personal and incredibly complex. Kate, who has spent much of her life in the public eye, has always been seen as the epitome of grace, poise, and composure. Throughout her marriage to Prince William, she has remained a pillar of support for her children, guiding them through their royal duties while also ensuring they are given as normal a life as possible. But Charlotte's decision to come out as non-binary, to embrace her true identity and challenge royal traditions, left Kate grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. While Kate is known for her unwavering support of her family, the announcement about Charlotte's gender identity was still a jarring moment. As a mother, she wanted nothing more than for her children to be happy and comfortable in their own skin. But as a member of the royal family, she also had to consider the potential ramifications of Charlotte's decision for the monarchy and its place in the modern world. In private, Kate was initially taken aback by Charlotte's revelation. While the family had always tried to foster an environment of understanding and openness, the reality of a non-binary royal was a significant shift. As a mother, Kate worried about the public reaction, knowing that the press would undoubtedly have a field day with this unexpected turn of events. She also struggled with the idea that Charlotte's decision would further distance the royal family from the traditional values that have long been associated with the British monarchy. However, despite these initial concerns, Kate soon found herself rallying behind her daughter. In interviews, she expressed her pride in Charlotte's courage and strength, acknowledging that it takes immense bravery to publicly embrace such a transformative identity. Kate's deep love for Charlotte has always been evident, and she quickly reaffirmed her commitment to supporting her daughter's journey, no matter what challenges lay ahead. As the royal family grappled with the public fallout from Charlotte's announcement, Kate worked quietly behind the scenes to ensure that Charlotte felt loved, understood, and supported every step of the way. Prince William's role as a supportive father. Prince William's response to Charlotte's revelation was similarly complex. As a father, William was understandably protective of his children, especially Charlotte, who has always been regarded as the more independent and spirited of his two children. William, who has always been seen as a progressive figure within the royal family, initially expressed his pride in Charlotte's decision to live authentically. However, as a member of the royal family, he also had to consider the potential consequences of such a revelation on the monarchy and its role in society. The pressure on William was immense. While he publicly supported Charlotte's decision, he also had to contend with the complexities of balancing his role as a father with his duties as the future king. The monarchy has long been tied to tradition, and Charlotte's decision to embrace a non-binary identity was a break from those traditions in ways that no one could have predicted. As a father, William was deeply proud of Charlotte's bravery. As a future king, he was aware of the broader implications of her decision for the royal family and the monarchy's place in modern Britain. William's reaction was both private and public. Behind closed doors, he expressed his concern for Charlotte's well-being and the challenges she would face in the coming months. He knew that the public would likely react with shock and confusion, and he worried about how this would impact Charlotte as she navigated her new identity in the spotlight. Despite these concerns, William remained steadfast in his support for Charlotte. He publicly reaffirmed that he would stand by her, no matter what, and that her happiness and well-being were his primary concern. But William's role as a father was complicated by the public's view of the royal family. As the future monarch, he knew that every decision, every word, and every action would be scrutinized by the media. His reaction to Charlotte's announcement would not only impact his family, but would also set the tone for how the monarchy would navigate the changing social landscape. The reaction of Prince Charles and the Queen. When news of Charlotte's announcement reached Prince Charles and Queen Elizabeth II, their reactions were marked by a mixture of surprise and cautious support. For both Charles and the Queen, the royal family had always been seen as a symbol of continuity and tradition. Gender roles, family structures, and royal duties had long been defined by strict norms, and the idea of a non-binary royal was a challenge to the very fabric of that tradition. Prince Charles, who had spent decades preparing for the throne, had always been seen as a conservative figure within the royal family. His traditional views on monarchy, leadership, and family had shaped much of his public persona. However, as a father, Charles's reaction to Charlotte's decision was more complex. While he initially struggled to understand the broader implications of Charlotte's transition, he ultimately came to accept that this was her journey, and that his duty as a father was to support her, no matter what. The Queen, too, found herself grappling with this unprecedented moment. As the longest reigning monarch in British history, Queen Elizabeth II had presided over the monarchy through many changes, but this was a challenge unlike any other. While she had long been a symbol of tradition and stability, the changing landscape of the monarchy forced her to confront the reality that the institution needed to evolve. Charlotte's decision, though deeply personal, was also a reflection of the broader social changes that were taking place in the world. In private, the Queen and Charles expressed their pride in Charlotte's courage. Both were deeply concerned, however, about the implications for the royal family's image. They understood the importance of maintaining the monarchy's stability, but they also recognized that the world was changing, and that the royal family had to evolve with it. The public's response: shock, support, and outrage. As the royal family processed Charlotte's announcement, the public's reaction was swift and intense. The press, which had long been fascinated by the royal family's every move, quickly turned its attention to Charlotte's decision. Some outlets reacted with shock, while others expressed support for her bravery. The news spread quickly on social media, where it sparked widespread debate about gender identity, the monarchy, and the future of the royal family. For many, Charlotte's decision was seen as a courageous step forward. LGBTQ+ advocates and supporters of gender inclusivity hailed her announcement as a sign of progress, not just for the royal family, but for society as a whole. Charlotte's bravery in publicly identifying as non-binary was viewed as a statement of empowerment, one that challenged traditional gender norms and encouraged acceptance and understanding. However, not everyone was supportive. The monarchy, for all its attempts to modernize, is still an institution deeply rooted in tradition. Many conservative voices in the press and among the public questioned the appropriateness of Charlotte's decision, asking whether it was consistent with royal traditions. The royal family, known for its adherence to protocol, was now facing the reality of a new social dynamic, and for some, this was a step too far. Despite the mixed reaction, the royal family remained steadfast in its commitment to supporting Charlotte. They knew that this was a moment of profound change, one that would define the monarchy for years to come. And while the public debate raged on, the family's unwavering support for Charlotte remained a constant. Kate and William's public image, the media's response, the weight of royal scrutiny. When Princess Charlotte made the announcement that she identifies as non-binary and has chosen to go by the name Charles, the world was immediately thrown into a whirlwind of reactions. It wasn't just a moment of personal revelation for Charlotte. It was an unprecedented event in the royal family, something that sent shockwaves not only through the monarchy but across the globe. For Kate Middleton and Prince William, this announcement marked a turning point not just in their personal lives but in their public lives as well. For years, Kate and William have been under the microscope of the media. Every appearance, every word spoken, and even every glance exchanged has been analyzed by the press. The royal family's public image has been one of the most significant aspects of their role. They are figures that represent tradition, unity, and stability, but in the modern world, their every move is scrutinized under a magnifying glass. With Charlotte's revelation, the couple found themselves facing a new level of media attention, one that was more intense and far-reaching than anything they had experienced before. In this section, we explore how the media has responded to Charlotte's announcement and what it means for Kate and William's public image. How have they handled the unexpected attention, and how has the media portrayed them in the wake of Charlotte's announcement? The royal couple's ability to maintain their image as dignified, approachable figures in the face of such personal and public upheaval is a critical part of their ongoing role in the monarchy. Their responses, both in the media and in their private lives, will shape not just their legacy but also the future of the British royal family. The press, shock, sensationalism, and speculation. As with any major event in the royal family, the press response to Charlotte's announcement was swift and intense. The story dominated headlines around the world, and the media, eager for exclusive details, quickly turned their attention to the implications of the revelation. Journalists scoured every detail of the statement Charlotte had released, seeking to uncover what this meant not only for her but for the entire royal family. The initial reaction from the press was one of shock. Many outlets expressed disbelief at the news, as the monarchy, an institution traditionally tied to strict gender roles, had never faced such a revelation. The idea of a royal family member, let alone a child, identifying as non-binary, was unprecedented, and the media struggled to wrap its head around the implications. Some outlets focused on the personal aspects of Charlotte's journey, applauding her bravery and courage in coming out. They framed the announcement as a moment of empowerment, focusing on Charlotte's strength and embracing her true identity in the face of public scrutiny. These stories were often filled with positive language, highlighting the significance of the moment for LGBTQ+ rights and the royal family's progressive stance on gender identity. However, not all media outlets were as supportive. The British tabloid press, known for its sensationalism, quickly shifted the narrative, with some publications focusing on the potential implications for the monarchy. The question of whether Charlotte's transition would affect her place in the line of succession became a primary topic of discussion. Was this decision a challenge to royal traditions? Would this change the way the public viewed the royal family? And perhaps most notably, how would Charlotte's decision impact the public image of her parents, Prince William and Kate Middleton? The press, eager for a scandal, wasted no time speculating about the royal family's private response to Charlotte's announcement. Would Kate and William publicly embrace Charlotte's decision, or would they distance themselves from it? Would the monarchy, which had long been associated with traditional values, struggle to accept this new reality? Kate and William, the public response. For Kate and William, the pressure to navigate their public response to Charlotte's decision was immense. As members of the royal family, they had always been expected to maintain a sense of decorum and control, presenting an image of unity and dignity. Their personal lives, particularly their role as parents, had always been viewed through a lens of perfection. Now, with Charlotte's revelation, they were forced to confront the complexity of their family situation, all while facing intense media scrutiny. The couple, both of whom have worked hard to maintain a sense of privacy for their children, found themselves thrust into the public eye like never before. Their role as parents suddenly took on new significance. The world was watching as they navigated their daughter's transition, waiting to see how they would respond to this profound shift in their family dynamic. In interviews following Charlotte's announcement, Kate and William were careful with their words. They expressed their unwavering support for Charlotte, emphasizing that their love for her had not changed. William, in particular, spoke about the importance of accepting Charlotte for who she truly was and the strength she had shown in coming forward with such a personal revelation. Kate, too, reaffirmed her commitment to supporting Charlotte's decision, stating that it was important for every child to feel loved and accepted, no matter their gender identity. However, despite their public statements of support, the couple's private lives were undoubtedly affected by the media frenzy. Both Kate and William are known for being incredibly protective of their children, and Charlotte's decision to step into the spotlight in such a profound way was likely a source of concern. The media, always hungry for a story, would undoubtedly focus on every detail of the family's response, leaving Kate and William with little room to navigate this situation privately. The couple's handling of the media's questions about Charlotte's gender transition was carefully calculated. They remained positive and supportive, but there was a palpable sense of caution in their statements. Kate and William were well aware that this announcement was not just a personal matter for their family. It was a moment that would have lasting implications for the monarchy. The royal family's ability to adapt to changing social norms was being tested, and Kate and William were at the center of this new chapter. The pressure of tradition versus progress. One of the most significant challenges for Kate and William in responding to Charlotte's announcement was the tension between tradition and progress. The British monarchy has always been a symbol of continuity, a beacon of tradition in a rapidly changing world. But Charlotte's decision to identify as non-binary challenged some of the most fundamental traditions associated with the royal family. For centuries, the monarchy has been defined by rigid gender roles. Monarchs have been either male or female, and the line of succession has always followed a traditional, gendered structure. Charlotte's decision to embrace a non-binary identity raised questions about how the monarchy could continue to function in a world where gender identity is no longer confined to binary terms. Kate and William understood that this was not just a personal matter for their daughter. It was a matter that would force the royal family to confront its role in a modern society. For them, this was a balancing act between maintaining the monarchy's dignity and addressing the evolving needs of the people. They knew that the public expected them to uphold the monarchy's traditional values, but they also understood that they had to support their daughter and embrace the changing world. While their public response was one of acceptance and love, it was clear that Kate and William were navigating a difficult path. The media's pressure to comment on every aspect of Charlotte's announcement was overwhelming, and the royal couple found themselves in uncharted territory. Their ability to handle this moment with grace and dignity would be crucial in shaping their public image, not just as parents, but as future monarchs. The role of the royal family in modern society. The royal family has always been a symbol of British values and tradition, but as the world changes, so too must the monarchy. The monarchy's role in society has evolved over the centuries, and Charlotte's decision to identify as non-binary underscores the need for the royal family to continue adapting to the times. For William and Kate, this moment is not just about their daughter's personal journey. It is about the future of the monarchy itself. The royal family has long been seen as an institution that represents the values of the nation, but in today's world, those values are being redefined. Gender identity, inclusivity, and acceptance are now at the forefront of social discourse, and the monarchy must engage with these issues if it is to remain relevant. Kate and William understand that the monarchy is no longer just about upholding tradition. It is about connecting with the people, understanding their needs, and representing them in a way that reflects the changing times. Charlotte's announcement has forced the royal family to confront these issues head-on, and it is now up to Kate and William to navigate this new reality while maintaining the dignity of the crown. Conclusion: the future of the monarchy. In the aftermath of Charlotte's announcement, Kate and William find themselves at a crossroads. The monarchy's future is now linked to its ability to evolve in the face of a changing world. As the world continues to scrutinize the royal family's every move, Kate and William's handling of this moment will shape the monarchy's legacy for years to come. Their support for Charlotte's decision sends a powerful message. The royal family can adapt to the modern world while still maintaining its traditions. The monarchy may be rooted in history, but it must remain relevant if it is to continue serving the people of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. For Kate and William, this moment represents both a challenge and an opportunity. An opportunity to lead the monarchy into a new era, one that embraces change without losing its core values. The royal family's future, gender fluidity in the monarchy. A new era of change and inclusivity. The British monarchy, long defined by its rigid traditions and gendered roles, now faces a unique moment of transformation. The announcement from Princess Charlotte, who has embraced a non-binary identity and chosen the name Charles, has raised questions not only about the royal family's future, but about the monarchy's place in a world that is increasingly accepting of diverse identities. The idea of a royal family member challenging centuries-old traditions is nothing short of revolutionary. But what does this mean for the monarchy as a whole? How will the royal family address the changing attitudes towards gender identity, and what does the future hold for a monarchy that is beginning to question long-standing norms? In this section, we will explore the potential future of the British monarchy in the wake of Charlotte's transformation. What does it mean for the royal family to embrace gender fluidity? How will the monarchy, which has always adhered to a strict and traditional view of gender and succession, evolve to meet the needs of modern society? We will examine how Charlotte's decision fits into the broader conversation about gender identity and how it challenges both the monarchy's historical precedent and its role in a changing world. As the first royal family to openly acknowledge the non-binary identity of a member, the Windsors are forced to confront difficult questions. Can a monarchy that has long been defined by its gendered structures remain relevant when one of its own breaks with those very traditions? What does the future hold for gender fluidity in the monarchy, and how will Charlotte's decision shape the lives of future royals? A monumental shift in royal tradition. For centuries, the British monarchy has been built on the idea of male and female monarchs, with a strict hierarchy that has passed down through generations. The line of succession, rooted in the idea that a male heir would take precedence over female heirs, has been a cornerstone of royal tradition. But Charlotte's revelation, that she identifies as non-binary, has upended this age-old tradition in a profound way. In many ways, this shift represents a deeper societal change. The monarchy has always been a symbol of continuity and tradition, but the world around it is changing, and the expectations of the royal family must evolve accordingly. Charlotte's decision to embrace a non-binary identity is not just a personal transformation. It is a reflection of a broader cultural movement towards greater acceptance of diverse gender identities. As society becomes more inclusive, the royal family is being asked to reconsider its historical position on gender roles and the expectations placed on future monarchs. The question now is how the monarchy will respond. Can a family so rooted in tradition reconcile the need for change with the desire to preserve its history? This is the challenge Prince William and his family must now navigate. While Charlotte's transformation has brought attention to gender identity issues, it has also forced the royal family to reckon with its own role in a world that is increasingly questioning long-established norms. One of the most immediate concerns is the question of succession. Under the current rules, the line of succession is strictly defined by gender. Male heirs take precedence over female heirs, which has historically meant that men, like William, Charles, and even George, would ascend the throne first. Charlotte's decision to identify as non-binary complicates this framework. While the current legal framework does not explicitly define the line of succession for non-binary individuals, the royal family will need to address how Charlotte's identity will be recognized in the future. Breaking with tradition, the monarchy's role in a modern world. The monarchy has long been a symbol of tradition, but in the modern world, institutions must adapt or risk becoming irrelevant. The idea of a non-binary royal challenges the very foundation of the monarchy, forcing the institution to reconsider its place in a rapidly changing world. The public, especially younger generations, are increasingly looking for leaders and institutions that reflect their values and beliefs, including inclusivity, acceptance, and diversity. For the royal family, this represents an opportunity to modernize and make meaningful changes. But how will this be done? Will Charlotte's decision spark a broader movement within the monarchy, or will it remain an isolated moment in royal history? To answer this question, we need to look at the broader context of gender in society. Over the past few decades, there has been a dramatic shift in how gender identity is understood. Non-binary individuals, once invisible in mainstream society, are now finding a place in conversations about gender. This shift in understanding is happening globally, not just in the UK. From laws to social media to corporate practices, the conversation about gender is changing. The monarchy, as an institution that represents the values and identity of the British people, cannot ignore this shift. As the monarchy faces this new reality, it must decide how it will adapt. Will it embrace the changes in society and allow for greater gender inclusivity within the royal family, or will it remain a traditional, gendered institution? For the monarchy, embracing gender fluidity means more than just accepting Charlotte's decision. It means reshaping the royal family's role in a society that is increasingly diverse and inclusive. Gender fluidity and the future of the royal line. One of the most pressing questions arising from Charlotte's transition is what this means for the line of succession. In a monarchy that has long been governed by strict gender roles, Charlotte's identification as non-binary presents a unique challenge. While the royal family has traditionally operated under a clear hierarchy of gendered titles, kings and queens, princes and princesses, this framework now seems outdated in a world where gender is seen as fluid and self-determined. This shift in understanding has major implications for the royal family's future. The question of who will inherit the throne and how this decision will be made is no longer as straightforward as it once was. Under the current laws of succession, Charlotte's transition would raise difficult questions about where she stands in relation to her brothers, Prince George and Prince Louis. As of now, the legal framework does not recognize non-binary identities in terms of the monarchy's line of succession. This raises the question, will the monarchy update its succession laws to reflect a more inclusive understanding of gender? Could we see the monarchy move away from its traditional gendered structure and adopt a more flexible approach to the line of succession? This would be a historic change, one that would align the monarchy with the changing attitudes of society and demonstrate its ability to evolve with the times. For Charlotte, the future is uncertain. She is still a young girl, and her place in the royal family's hierarchy has yet to be determined. But her decision to embrace a non-binary identity has undoubtedly set the stage for a broader conversation about gender and the monarchy's role in shaping the conversation. Charlotte's transformation is not just a personal journey. It is a reflection of the changing times, a symbol of the way in which the royal family must evolve to remain relevant. A monarchy in transition, the next generation. The issue of gender fluidity in the monarchy is not just about Charlotte. It's about the future of the royal family. The monarchy is, by its nature, a family institution. As the next generation of royals grows up, it is clear that the family will have to navigate an entirely new set of challenges. Issues of gender, identity, and inclusivity are no longer abstract concepts. They are part of the very fabric of society. The royal family, if it is to remain an institution that connects with the people, will need to acknowledge and adapt to these changes. For Prince William, this is a defining moment. As king, he will be the one to shape the monarchy's future, and how he chooses to address issues like gender fluidity will be a major part of his legacy. He will need to find a way to modernize the monarchy, making it relevant to the next generation, while also preserving its traditions and values. This will require him to be bold, to make decisions that may be uncomfortable or controversial, but that will ultimately allow the monarchy to remain a vital force in the modern world. William's reign, already marked by moments of transformation, is now on the precipice of even more change. He has already shown a willingness to challenge royal norms, particularly in his efforts to engage with modern issues like mental health, environmental sustainability, and social justice. The next chapter of his reign will undoubtedly be defined by how he handles the changing landscape of gender and identity within the royal family. Conclusion: a new monarchy for a new era. Charlotte's revelation is more than just a personal story. It is a symbol of the way in which society and the monarchy are evolving. As the royal family faces the future, it must decide how to adapt to the changing attitudes around gender identity, both within the family and in the broader world. Charlotte's decision to embrace a non-binary identity is a powerful statement, one that will reverberate through the monarchy for years to come. For the royal family, the future is uncertain. But one thing is clear: the monarchy must change to remain relevant. The royal family cannot afford to ignore the shifting dynamics of gender and identity. It must embrace these changes and move forward with a new vision for the future. And in doing so, it will ensure that the monarchy continues to serve as a symbol of unity, progress, and inclusivity for generations to come. When Princess Charlotte's groundbreaking decision was made public, it wasn't just the royal family that was thrust into the spotlight. Kate Middleton and Prince William found themselves facing the intense gaze of the media and the public once again. For years, the couple had carefully crafted an image of balance, grace, and privacy, managing to strike a delicate equilibrium between their royal duties and family life. But Charlotte's revelation that she identifies as non-binary and now goes by the name Charles disrupted the carefully constructed narrative that had defined their public personas. As members of the royal family, Kate and William have always been under a microscope. From the early days of their courtship to their marriage and the birth of their children, their lives have been subject to the scrutiny of the press. The media's fascination with the royal family has only intensified in the digital age, where every tweet, every appearance, and every word spoken is dissected by the public. With Charlotte's announcement, the pressure on Kate and William has reached new heights. This isn't just about royal duties, it's about their ability to maintain their public image while navigating one of the most personal and profound moments of their lives. In this section, we will explore how the media has responded to Charlotte's decision and what it means for Kate and William's public image. We will also examine how the couple has managed the intense media scrutiny, both in public and behind closed doors. How do they balance their responsibilities as parents, as royals, and as public figures? And how has the press, always hungry for a royal story, reacted to this unprecedented announcement from a young member of the royal family? The role of the press, sensationalism, and speculation. The media's response to Charlotte's revelation was swift and, at times, sensationalized. The royal family, long accustomed to media attention, has always been a source of intrigue and fascination. But this announcement was unlike any other the family had faced. The idea of a royal family member, particularly one so young, identifying as non-binary challenged the very foundation of royal tradition. For the media, this was an opportunity to explore new territory, to examine what this decision meant for the monarchy and for gender identity as a whole. The press coverage was, unsurprisingly, a mix of both support and scrutiny. Some outlets hailed Charlotte's decision as a brave and empowering step forward, praising her for embracing her true identity. These stories focused on the positive aspects of the announcement, emphasizing Charlotte's courage and the significance of having a non-binary royal in such a prominent family. Many LGBTQ+ publications and activists expressed their support for Charlotte, seeing her decision as a victory for inclusion and acceptance. However, not all coverage was so supportive. The British tabloid press, in particular, was quick to turn the story into a spectacle. Sensational headlines, invasive questioning, and speculative reporting flooded the media. The press dug into every detail of Charlotte's decision, questioning how this would impact her future role in the royal family and the monarchy's place in British society. For some, the idea of a non-binary royal was seen as a challenge to the very foundations of the monarchy, and the media was eager to explore whether this change would alter the royal family's traditional structures. For Kate and William, the media's dual response, both celebratory and critical, created a delicate balancing act. They could not control how the press portrayed the situation, but they had to navigate the fallout from it. How did they handle the intense speculation about Charlotte's identity? And how did they manage their own personal reactions to the constant media attention? Kate Middleton, a protective mother in the public eye. As a mother, Kate's role in this moment has been one of both strength and vulnerability. Kate has always been a highly visible figure in the royal family, and her responses to personal matters, especially those involving her children, are often closely scrutinized. Throughout Charlotte's announcement, Kate has been fiercely protective of her daughter, ensuring that Charlotte's privacy and autonomy were respected. However, as the press continued to focus on the story, Kate found herself once again at the center of the media frenzy. In public, Kate remained composed, as she always has. She publicly expressed her unwavering support for Charlotte, emphasizing that her daughter's happiness and well-being were her top priorities. Kate's approach was measured and thoughtful, acknowledging the gravity of the situation while standing firm in her commitment to her family. But behind the scenes, the emotional toll on Kate was palpable. As a mother, she undoubtedly faced moments of doubt and concern. She knew that the media would be relentless, and that Charlotte would be thrust into a level of public scrutiny that no child should face. Kate's protective instincts, coupled with her understanding of the royal family's place in the public eye, left her torn between her desire to shield her daughter from the world and her responsibility to represent the monarchy with grace and dignity. Kate's public responses were carefully crafted to show support without revealing too much of her personal feelings. She remained steadfast in her belief that Charlotte's decision was a personal one and that her family would stand by her no matter what. Yet, the weight of the media's reaction was not lost on Kate. The constant press attention took its toll, and the pressure to maintain the royal family's image in the face of such a deeply personal revelation was something Kate would undoubtedly carry with her for years to come. Prince William, a king in the making, but a father first. For Prince William, this announcement was a moment of profound significance, both as a father and as the future king. As the father of a young child who had just made a life-altering decision, William's response was both protective and proud. He expressed his admiration for Charlotte's bravery and his commitment to supporting her, emphasizing that the family would stand together through whatever challenges lay ahead. But as the future king, William also understood the larger implications of Charlotte's decision. His role as a public figure meant that his family's actions and responses would be under constant scrutiny. William has always been seen as a more modern, progressive figure within the royal family, but even for him, this was uncharted territory. The monarchy had never dealt with such a personal revelation from a family member, and William knew that the world would be watching to see how he responded. As a father, William's protective instincts were in full force. He has always been deeply committed to his children's well-being, and Charlotte's announcement was no exception. William, like Kate, wanted to ensure that Charlotte felt loved, accepted, and safe as she navigated this new chapter of her life. But the public nature of the announcement meant that William also had to consider how this would affect the royal family's public image. In interviews, William expressed his pride in Charlotte and his belief that her decision was one that required immense courage. He made it clear that he and Kate would continue to support Charlotte as she embraced her true identity. At the same time, William acknowledged the challenges that would come with such a high-profile transition, particularly for a member of the royal family. The press and the royal family's image, the delicate dance. As the media continued to report on Charlotte's decision, the royal family's image was put to the test. The press, as always, played a pivotal role in shaping public opinion, and the royal family found itself navigating a complex and shifting narrative. On the one hand, the press focused on the positive aspects of Charlotte's announcement, celebrating her courage and the royal family's progressive stance on gender identity. On the other hand, the tabloid press seized upon the potential controversies, speculating about the monarchy's future and whether the shift would challenge its traditional values. For Kate and William, this was an opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to modernizing the monarchy, to showing the world that the royal family could be inclusive, empathetic, and forward-thinking. Yet, the pressure to balance this progressive image with the need to maintain royal dignity and tradition weighed heavily on them. Every statement, every public appearance was scrutinized, not just for its content but for its tone, for its approach to gender and identity. While the royal family has long been seen as a symbol of stability, Charlotte's announcement showed that the monarchy could no longer rely solely on tradition. The world was changing, and so too was the role of the royal family. The monarchy, to remain relevant in the 21st century, had to adapt, and Kate and William knew that they were at the forefront of this transformation. The royal family's future, gender fluidity in the monarchy. A royal family at the crossroads of tradition and progress. The British monarchy, one of the most enduring and iconic institutions in the world, has always been defined by its strict adherence to tradition. For centuries, the royal family has been a symbol of continuity, stability, and authority, with a well-defined structure that reinforced gendered roles and titles. Monarchs were either kings or queens, and the line of succession was always determined by clear rules based on birth order, with male heirs taking precedence over female heirs. The royal family, while evolving over time, maintained a sense of continuity that was deeply rooted in its history. However, the royal family now finds itself at a turning point. The announcement from Princess Charlotte that she identifies as non-binary and has chosen the name Charles has forced the monarchy to confront new questions about gender identity, tradition, and the future of the royal family. Charlotte's decision to embrace her true self has shattered long-held expectations about gender within the monarchy, leading many to wonder what this means for the future of the royal family. As society continues to embrace more inclusive definitions of gender, the royal family is faced with the difficult task of reconciling its centuries-old traditions with the modern world's evolving views on gender fluidity and non-binary identities. Can the monarchy, an institution built on rigid roles and expectations, evolve to become more inclusive? Will Charlotte's decision set a new precedent for future generations of royals, or will it remain an isolated moment in royal history? In this section, we explore the long-term implications of Charlotte's decision for the monarchy. How will gender fluidity affect the royal family's public image, its internal dynamics, and its place in British society? What role will Charlotte's transformation play in shaping the monarchy's future, and what changes will need to be made to accommodate a more inclusive vision of the royal family? Gender identity in the royal line of succession. One of the most immediate and complex questions arising from Charlotte's announcement is what it means for her place in the royal line of succession. The British monarchy's line of succession has historically been determined by a clear set of rules, which favored male heirs. For centuries, the monarchs were either kings or queens, and the role of gender in determining succession was absolute. But Charlotte's decision to identify as non-binary complicates this long-established framework. In the current system, the line of succession follows strict gendered categories, with male heirs taking precedence over female heirs. This system, which was codified in the Succession to the Crown Act of 2013, has come under scrutiny in recent years as society's understanding of gender has evolved. Charlotte's decision to identify as non-binary forces the monarchy to confront these outdated structures and consider how they can be adapted to reflect modern understandings of gender identity. The question that many are asking is, what will happen to Charlotte's place in the line of succession? Will her non-binary identity be recognized in the same way that her brothers, Prince George and Prince Louis, are recognized? And what about the future of other royals? Could we see other members of the royal family follow Charlotte's lead in the years to come? At present, the laws of succession do not account for non-binary identities. Under the current system, Charlotte would likely still retain her place in the line of succession, as her gender identity does not alter her birth order. However, her announcement highlights a larger issue: the monarchy's outdated approach to gender and the need for reform. The need for reform, modernizing the monarchy's approach to gender. The monarchy has long been a symbol of tradition, but as the world changes, so too must the royal family. The question of how to address gender fluidity within the royal family is not just a personal matter for Charlotte. It is a question about the future of the monarchy itself. The royal family's ability to adapt to the changing social landscape will determine its relevance in the 21st century. Gender identity is no longer a fringe issue. It is at the forefront of conversations about equality and human rights. As society increasingly recognizes non-binary and transgender individuals, the monarchy must decide whether to continue to cling to its traditional, gendered structures or to embrace a more inclusive approach. The reality is that the monarchy must evolve to reflect the values and identities of the people it represents. For Prince William, this is a critical challenge. As the future king, he must navigate the delicate balance between honoring the monarchy's long-held traditions and adapting to the changing social norms of the modern world. The monarchy, for all its history and prestige, cannot afford to remain stagnant in the face of such profound change. This is not just about Charlotte, it's about the future of the monarchy as a whole. If the royal family is to remain relevant in the modern world, it must adapt to the realities of a society that is increasingly diverse and inclusive. Gender identity, once a taboo subject within the royal family, is now something that cannot be ignored. Charlotte's decision has forced the monarchy to confront its own limitations and consider how it can move forward in a way that is both inclusive and true to its history. The future of gender fluidity in the royal family. The question of how the monarchy will handle gender fluidity in the future is still up in the air. While Charlotte's announcement is a significant moment, it is unclear whether this will be the beginning of a broader shift within the royal family or a one-time exception. Could we see other members of the royal family openly embrace non-binary or gender-fluid identities in the future? And how will the monarchy respond to these changes? The royal family's role as a symbol of British tradition is deeply ingrained in the public's perception. But as the world evolves, so too must the monarchy. The future of the royal family will be shaped by its ability to adapt to the changing views on gender identity and inclusivity. Charlotte's announcement has set the stage for this conversation, but it remains to be seen how the royal family will respond to this new reality. For Charlotte, this moment represents the beginning of a new chapter. She has already made history by being the first member of the royal family to publicly identify as non-binary. But her transformation is also a reflection of the growing acceptance of non-binary and transgender individuals in society. As the world becomes more accepting of diverse gender identities, the The royal family will need to find a way to support and reflect these changes while still maintaining the traditions that have defined it for centuries. In the coming years, it is likely that the monarchy will face additional questions about gender and identity. How will the monarchy address issues like gender-neutral titles? Will we see more non-binary royals in the future? These are questions that the royal family will have to grapple with as they navigate this new era. Gender fluidity and the public perception of the monarchy. The monarchy's public image is one of its most important assets. The royal family represents the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth, and it plays a significant role in shaping the nation's identity. But as Charlotte's announcement has shown, public perceptions of the monarchy are shifting. In an age where inclusivity and representation are paramount, the royal family's response to gender fluidity will be closely watched. Charlotte's decision to embrace a non-binary identity has been met with both support and criticism. For many, this is a moment of progress, a sign that the royal family is evolving and becoming more inclusive. But for others, Charlotte's announcement represents a break from tradition that is difficult to accept. The monarchy's reputation as an institution that represents stability and continuity is being tested in ways it hasn't been before. As the monarchy adapts to these changes, its ability to maintain its image as a unifying force will be critical. The public will be watching to see how the royal family handles Charlotte's transformation and whether the monarchy can remain relevant in a world that is changing rapidly. Prince William, as the future king, will be at the center of this transformation, and his ability to lead the monarchy into a more inclusive future will define his reign. A monarch in the making, William's role in shaping the future of the monarchy. Prince William's leadership will be essential in navigating the complexities of gender fluidity and inclusivity within the monarchy. As king, he will be faced with decisions that require him to strike a delicate balance between tradition and progress. How will he shape the monarchy's future? Will he embrace the changes that are being forced upon the royal family, or will he hold on to the traditions that have defined the monarchy for centuries? William has already demonstrated his willingness to challenge royal traditions, particularly in his advocacy for mental health and social justice. But gender identity is a different challenge altogether. As king, William will need to decide how the monarchy will engage with this issue, both within the royal family and in the broader public discourse. For the royal family, the future is uncertain. But one thing is clear: the monarchy must evolve if it is to remain relevant. Charlotte's decision has opened the door to new possibilities, and it is up to William and the rest of the royal family to decide how to navigate this new era. Gender fluidity is no longer just a social issue. It is a royal issue, and the monarchy's future will depend on how it addresses this challenge. Kate and William's public image, the media's response, the press and the royal family, managing public perception in a new era. When Princess Charlotte made her transformative announcement to identify as non-binary and adopt the name Charles, it wasn't just the royal family who felt the ripple effects, it was the entire world. For Prince William and Kate Middleton, this unexpected shift in their daughter's identity thrust them into the center of the media storm in a way they hadn't anticipated. As public figures, their personal lives are always under intense scrutiny, but Charlotte's decision added an entirely new layer of complexity to their already complicated relationship with the press. In the wake of this revelation, the couple was forced to respond to the media's overwhelming attention, all while remaining true to their roles as future leaders of the British monarchy. The press, which has long been fascinated by the royal family, turned its full attention to this unprecedented moment. Headlines flooded the papers, social media exploded with reactions, and news outlets scrambled to get the inside story. For William and Kate, managing their public image was no longer just about maintaining the image of a family devoted to duty and tradition. It was now about protecting their daughter, responding to the public's questions, and ensuring that their support for Charlotte was clear and unequivocal. The media's response to Charlotte's decision was not one-sided. While some outlets lauded the royal family for embracing a modern and inclusive stance, others turned the story into a sensationalized spectacle, questioning the impact of Charlotte's transition on the monarchy's place in British society. This section delves into the complexities of William and Kate's public response to Charlotte's gender identity announcement, the pressures of media scrutiny, and the broader implications for the royal family's image in the modern world. The initial reaction from the media, a mix of shock and support. When the news broke, the media response was swift and varied. On the one hand, many outlets praised Charlotte for her courage and bravery in coming out as non-binary. Her decision to embrace her true self was seen as a moment of empowerment, not only for Charlotte but for the LGBTQ+ community as a whole. Numerous reports highlighted how Charlotte's transformation could serve as an inspiration for young people everywhere who struggle with their gender identity. The positive narratives framed Charlotte's journey as a victory for inclusivity, and the royal family's apparent willingness to support her was seen as a progressive step for an institution traditionally defined by rigid gender roles. However, the public's reaction wasn't entirely one of acceptance. The press, particularly the tabloids, seized upon the opportunity to dig deeper into the implications of Charlotte's announcement. Sensational headlines asking whether Charlotte's transition would affect her place in the line of succession became commonplace. Questions about how the royal family would navigate this new chapter dominated the discourse, and the media quickly shifted focus to the potential legal, social, and political consequences of Charlotte's transition. The issue wasn't just about gender, it was about the monarchy's identity in a rapidly changing world. Would Charlotte's transformation force a reevaluation of the royal family's place in modern society? The press also turned its attention to William and Kate's role in this public revelation. How would they respond to their daughter's decision, both publicly and privately? Were they truly supportive, or was there an underlying tension as they struggled to reconcile their personal beliefs with their public duties? The media speculated on the family's private moments, attempting to paint a picture of how they were dealing with the shift, and often, they added fuel to the fire by questioning whether this would fracture the royal family's unity. The royal family's image. Balancing tradition and progress. For Kate and William, the challenge was not just responding to the press, it was managing the delicate balance between maintaining the monarchy's traditional image and embracing a more progressive stance. The British royal family has long been a symbol of tradition, but as society evolves, so too must the monarchy. Gender fluidity and non-binary identities are increasingly part of the broader cultural conversation, and the royal family's public reaction to Charlotte's transition would inevitably become a symbol of how the monarchy was adapting to modern realities. Kate and William have always been seen as the future of the monarchy, the royal couple who would modernize the royal family without losing touch with its traditional roots. They have worked hard to cultivate an image of stability and warmth, focusing on their roles as parents, public figures, and advocates for important causes like mental health, education, and social welfare. The media has often portrayed them as a modern, relatable couple who understand the needs of today's society, and this narrative has been instrumental in shaping their public image. However, Charlotte's announcement forced Kate and William into uncharted territory. Their personal lives, which had previously been shielded from public scrutiny, were now front and center. The press was eager to know not just how they felt about Charlotte's decision, but how it would affect the monarchy as a whole. Kate, in particular, was thrust into the spotlight as a mother who had to publicly navigate the complexities of raising a child with a non-binary identity in a world that still struggles with understanding gender fluidity. The royal family has always represented a stable, almost timeless institution. But in an age of rapid social change, can it continue to stand as a beacon of tradition while also embracing the evolving values of society? Charlotte's transformation raised these questions, and Kate and William's ability to respond to the press in a way that preserved both their family's privacy and their commitment to modernizing the monarchy became a central part of their public image. Kate's role as a mother and protector. As a mother, Kate's response to Charlotte's transition was deeply emotional. She has always been a highly involved and protective parent, determined to ensure that her children have as normal a childhood as possible despite their royal status. But Charlotte's decision to identify as non-binary added a new level of complexity to Kate's role as a mother. She found herself torn between her desire to protect Charlotte from the harsh glare of the public eye and her responsibility to publicly support her daughter's journey. Behind the scenes, Kate likely faced moments of doubt and concern. As a mother, her instinct would have been to shield Charlotte from the media frenzy, to protect her from the invasive press coverage that would inevitably follow. But as a royal, Kate understood that her response would be scrutinized by millions. She had to find a way to support Charlotte without compromising the royal family's image, while also balancing her desire for privacy with the demands of public life. Kate's public statements were carefully worded, emphasizing her unconditional love for Charlotte and her pride in her daughter's courage. She made it clear that her priority was Charlotte's happiness and well-being, but she also expressed a desire for the media to respect their family's privacy. As the first royal mother to publicly support a non-binary child, Kate's response was both groundbreaking and poignant, demonstrating the royal family's commitment to progress and inclusivity. Prince William's position, the future king in the spotlight. As the future king of the United Kingdom, Prince William's position in the media was even more complex. His response to Charlotte's announcement had the potential to shape not only his image but also the future of the monarchy. William, who had long been seen as a more modern figure within the royal family, now found himself balancing his role as a father with his duty to uphold the monarchy's image. William's public statements were supportive and compassionate. He praised Charlotte's bravery and emphasized that the royal family would continue to support her no matter what. But as a future monarch, William had to consider the broader implications of Charlotte's transition on the royal family's image. The monarchy, for all its tradition, is an institution that must evolve with the times, and Charlotte's decision to identify as non-binary represented a challenge to the traditional gendered structures that have defined the royal family for centuries. The press, naturally, was quick to scrutinize William's every word. Every statement he made, every appearance he made with Charlotte and Kate, was analyzed for its underlying message. Was he simply going along with Charlotte's decision, or was he truly embracing it as part of the royal family's ongoing transformation? Could the monarchy survive such a public break with tradition, or would this decision lead to a significant shift in how the public viewed the royal family? For William, this moment represented a significant test. As a father, his support for Charlotte was unconditional. But as the future king, he had to navigate the pressures of public opinion, royal tradition, and personal responsibility. His leadership in this moment would set the tone for how the monarchy would address issues of gender identity and inclusivity in the future. The long-term impact, shaping the monarchy's legacy. As the media continued to cover Charlotte's transition, the long-term impact on the royal family's image became increasingly clear. While the initial shock and scrutiny were intense, the royal family began to realize that this moment could serve as an opportunity to reshape the monarchy for a new generation. William and Kate's ability to navigate this transition with grace and dignity would play a significant role in defining their legacy. For the royal family, the key question moving forward is how to embrace inclusivity without losing the core values that have defined the monarchy for centuries. Charlotte's transition has opened the door for greater discussions about gender and identity within the royal family. As society becomes more accepting of diverse identities, the royal family's response to these issues will shape its legacy for generations to come. For Kate and William, this moment is both a challenge and an opportunity. The press, once again, is focusing its attention on their every move. But in the midst of the media frenzy, they have an opportunity to demonstrate that the monarchy can evolve and adapt while still honoring its traditions. Charlotte's announcement is a pivotal moment in the royal family's history, and how William and Kate respond will determine the future of the monarchy in an increasingly complex world.